In recent years, China has emerged as a formidable competitor to the United States across various fronts in the aerospace industry. One of their most evident strategies is replicating ideas from industry leaders. At present, SpaceX is clearly the primary target that the Chinese government encourages its domestic space companies to closely follow. By studying SpaceX's achievements, these companies aim not only to imitate, but also to catch up in the race for space development. To accelerate this effort, China is willing to invest billions of dollars in bold space projects, so long as they are based on SpaceX's proven successes. Recently, the Chinese launch company iSpace, officially known as Beijing Interstellar Glory Space Technology Ltd., has secured a significant financial boost through its Series D funding round, reportedly valued at hundreds of millions of yuan. This investment marks a pivotal moment for the private aerospace firm as it continues its ambitious push to advance China's commercial space sector. These funds are primarily allocated for the development of the Hyperbola 3 rocket, a next-generation reusable launch vehicle inspired by SpaceX's achievements with the Falcon 9. iSpace aims to achieve key milestones with this project, including a first orbital launch and sea-based recovery in December 2025, followed by a reuse test flight in June 2026. The Hyperbola 3 rocket was designed as a medium to large-scale reusable launch vehicle. It is intended to compete in the growing global market for cost-effective space access. The rocket stands approximately 69 meters tall and is powered by methane liquid oxygen (methalox) engines, specifically the Focus 1, Jiaodian 1, and potentially the more powerful Jiaodian 2 engines, which boast a thrust capability in the 100-ton range. In its reusable configuration, Hyperbola 3 is expected to lift 8.5 metric tons to low Earth orbit, LEO, while its expendable mode could handle up to 13.4 metric tons, or possibly as much as 14,000 kilograms, 14 metric tons. A triple-core variant, the Hyperbola 3B, is also in development, drawing comparisons to SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, with a projected capacity of at least 15 tons to LEO. This scalability underscores iSpace's long-term vision of conducting 25 launches per year by 2030, catering to both domestic and international satellite deployment needs. The funding will also support critical infrastructure enhancements, particularly in engine testing and production. Reports suggest that provincial investment, possibly from Sichuan, is driving this round, reflecting a broader trend of localized support for China's commercial space ventures. This financial backing aims to accelerate engine production, with goals of achieving 25 engines per year by April 2025 and scaling up to 100 engines annually by mid-2026. Such capacity is essential for the rigorous testing and operational cadence required to meet the Hyperbola 3's ambitious timeline. Additionally, the company is focusing on sea recovery, a technique involving landing the rocket's first stage on a barge, similar to SpaceX's methods, highlighting iSpace's intent to master reusable rocket technology, a key factor in reducing launch costs and increasing flight frequency. However, replicating Starship is no easy feat. From the start, Hyperbola 1 launches have faced challenges, with 4 out of 7 attempts ending in failure, the most recent occurring in July 2024. These difficulties have driven a strategic shift, including the decision to halt the development of the smaller Hyperbola 2 in favor of prioritizing Hyperbola 3. Beyond iSpace, other Chinese rocket manufacturers are also developing launch vehicles directly based on SpaceX's designs. The first among them is Deep Blue Aerospace. This company has explicitly aimed to develop reusable rockets akin to SpaceX's Falcon 9. In 2024, Deep Blue Aerospace tested its Nebula 1 rocket, achieving a high-altitude hover and landing, a feat reminiscent of SpaceX's Grasshopper and Starship test campaigns. Their focus on methalox engines and vertical landing technology directly aligns with SpaceX's reusable rocket philosophy, though their progress remains in earlier stages compared to SpaceX's operational cadence. Moreover, in October 2024, the company publicly unveiled the design of its new spacecraft, which bears an 80% resemblance to SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft. However, unlike Dragon, Deep Blue's spacecraft project is focused on suborbital space tourism, similar to Blue Origin's New Shepard. The crew module will be 3.5 meters wide and 4.0 meters tall, capable of carrying 6 passengers and featuring 6 windows. It can accommodate a payload of 1,200 kilograms and is designed for 50 reuses. The company plans to conduct dozens of test flights before launching commercial services in 2027. The full ticket price is listed at $210,000. Another key player in this landscape is Space Pioneer, which is currently developing the Tianlong 3, a reusable rocket designed to compete with Falcon 9 in both payload capacity and cost-effectiveness. With a planned debut in 2025, Tianlong 3 aims for vertical landing capabilities, a technique SpaceX mastered with Falcon 9's first successful booster landing in 2015. The company's rapid development timeline and focus on large-scale launch vehicles suggest an ambition to rival SpaceX's market dominance. Next up is CosmoLeap, a startup that emerged in early 2024 with bold aspirations in the aerospace industry. The company announced it had successfully raised over approximately $14 million to fund the development of its reusable Yueqian rocket and an accompanying recovery system. Conceptual footage of the Yueqian in action bears a striking resemblance to SpaceX's Starship, so much so that anyone watching the Yueqian descend from the sky only to be caught mid-air by a pair of mechanical chopstick arms might feel a strong sense of déjà vu. The parallels are uncanny, and it's clear that CosmoLeap has taken significant inspiration from SpaceX's pioneering designs. Despite the visual similarities between CosmoLeap's Yueqian and SpaceX's Starship, their immediate goals diverge. While Starship is famously designed with interplanetary ambitions, most notably to ferry humans and cargo to Mars, CosmoLeap has set its sights closer to home. The Yueqian rocket is being developed to support the construction of a satellite internet network, a mission that echoes SpaceX's deployment of its Starlink constellation, particularly the larger and more advanced Starlink version 2 satellites. This suggests that CosmoLeap is positioning itself to compete in the lucrative and rapidly expanding market for satellite-based internet services rather than aiming for the red planet just yet. Further drawing from SpaceX's playbook, CosmoLeap is reportedly constructing a launch tower system reminiscent of Mechazilla, SpaceX's innovative structure designed to catch the Starship booster mid-air during its return to Earth. This ambitious engineering feat underscores CosmoLeap's intent to master reusable rocket technology, a cornerstone of modern spaceflight economics. By reducing the cost of launches through reusability, the company aims to carve out a niche in an increasingly competitive industry. What's particularly intriguing and perhaps audacious is CosmoLeap's long-term vision. The company isn't content with merely replicating existing technology. It has its eyes on surpassing it. CosmoLeap has revealed plans to build a rocket even larger than Starship, standing at an impressive 413 feet, 126 meters tall. According to the company, this colossal rocket will boast a payload capacity of 100 tons to low Earth orbit (LEO) in its expendable configuration and 36 tons when reused. If these claims hold true, it would mark a significant leap forward in heavy lift capability. CosmoLeap has set an ambitious timeline, targeting 2030 for the inaugural launch of this behemoth. Should they succeed, they could potentially claim the title of having the largest rocket ever built, eclipsing even SpaceX's towering Starship. For a fledgling company like CosmoLeap, this roadmap is nothing short of extraordinary. The space industry is littered with examples of startups that have made grandiose promises, capturing the imagination of investors and the public alike, only to falter and file for bankruptcy shortly thereafter. But wait! Chinese space companies are not just copying SpaceX's rocket programs. They are replicating entire sectors of U.S. space exploration. Space stations, satellites, crew programs, and, most recently, the latest reveal, a spacesuit that has been making headlines across the media. This spacesuit will be used by China for its lunar mission, planned for the 2030s. At first glance, the suit appears heavily inspired by NASA's Axiom spacesuit. However, upon closer inspection, it also shows some remarkable similarities to SpaceX's EVA spacesuit. This new suit from China has undoubtedly sparked global interest and debate. SpaceX founder Elon Musk weighed in on this development with a single cryptic comment: "Crazy." It's hard to believe that shortly after SpaceX debuted its EVA suit, many of its features have now appeared on China's moon spacesuit. Perhaps no other country is capable of copying so quickly and accurately as China. This step clearly shows that China is extremely ambitious in its race to beat the US in lunar exploration. Over the years, China has made significant strides, such as landing rovers on the moon and retrieving samples from the far side. These accomplishments provide a solid foundation for future missions. One of these missions, involving the newly introduced lunar spacesuit, is to send taikonauts to the moon for the first time. currently targeted for 2030. Like NASA, China plans to land at the lunar South Pole, a region believed to contain water ice, which is vital for sustaining long-term human presence. Following this, China aims to establish a moon base, part of the fourth phase of their lunar exploration program. They plan to complete the basic construction of the base by 2035 and continue developing it until 2050. The International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, has already attracted multiple countries, most notably Russia, creating a counterbalance to the US-led Artemis program. To be honest, many people wonder how China could develop so quickly when it did not have a footprint in the space race during the Cold War. It all comes down to adjustments made by the Chinese government. In 2015, China made a pivotal decision to open its space industry to private enterprises, marking a significant shift in its approach to space exploration and commercialization. This move was aimed at fostering innovation, accelerating technological advancements, and boosting the country's presence in the global space industry. Since this policy change, there has been a notable rise in the number of Chinese space companies. These firms have quickly become active players in various domains of space technology, including launch vehicles, satellites, and space hardware. However, the term private company in the Chinese context often differs from its Western counterpart. Many of these so-called private enterprises are, in reality, either partially or fully state-owned. This means they benefit from substantial government support and funding, which can include direct financial investment, access to state-run facilities, and collaborations with national space programs. This hybrid model of private and state ownership allows Chinese space companies to leverage significant resources and expertise, enabling rapid growth and development. The incentivization by the Chinese government has led to a flourishing space sector, with numerous companies emerging to pursue ambitious projects. Consequently, China is becoming a formidable competitor in the global space arena. They are aggressively pursuing a comprehensive copying strategy, challenging established giants at every turn. Should SpaceX be wary of this development? Of course not. I firmly believe that creativity and innovation are the foundations of long-term success for any organization. SpaceX exemplifies this philosophy, a company led by talented engineers, continually pioneering new ideas in the aerospace industry. This formula for success is the key to their sustained dominance. If China does not grasp this formula, it will take a very long time before it can match SpaceX. For astronauts, experiencing two different spacecraft in a single mission is a rare occurrence. However, for the Starliner astronauts who had been stranded in Earth's orbit for 8 months after launching, returning home on a different spacecraft as Crew Dragon was inevitable, this made their mission one of the most impressive of their careers. The two astronauts had the unique opportunity to experience two completely different spacecraft. Do you wonder how they feel? We are certainly no strangers to the situation involving the two Starliner astronauts who have been stranded on the ISS for over 8 months, far exceeding their original 10-day mission plan. The root cause of this prolonged stay lies in the Starliner spacecraft's technical design flaws, which have left it unable to return to Earth with a crew on board. In this scenario, Crew Dragon emerged as the ultimate solution, stepping in to safely bring the two stranded astronauts home as part of SpaceX's Crew 9 mission. Although Boeing strongly opposed NASA's decision, in reality, it was the right call to prioritize the astronauts' safety. Starliner astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore also appeared to support this decision. They expressed their heartfelt gratitude to Elon Musk and former President Donald Trump the moment Crew 10 arrived at the ISS, signifying that, at long last, they were finally on their way home to reunite with their families.
We're coming back before long, so, don't make all those plans without me. We'll be back before too long.
I can tell you at the outset, all of us have the utmost respect for Mr. Musk, and obviously respect and admiration for our President of the United States, Donald Trump. We appreciate them. We appreciate all that they do for us, for human spaceflight, for our nation. And we're thankful that they are in the positions they're in.
An even greater experience for the two astronauts was getting to ride aboard Crew Dragon on their journey home. This was a completely different experience from what they had previously encountered on Starliner. Space is a brutal, relentless frontier, and the key to keeping the crew at ease, almost as if they're still basking in Earth's atmosphere, lies in the environmental control and life support system. The life support setup on Crew Dragon is built to maintain a livable cabin environment, accommodating up to 4 astronauts for a stretch of up to 5 days. This remarkable system aboard Crew Dragon is meticulously crafted to sustain a breathable, livable environment within the cabin, capable of supporting up to 4 astronauts for missions lasting as long as 5 days. It works tirelessly behind the scenes, replenishing oxygen as the crew breathes it in, maintaining a steady cabin pressure that mirrors conditions at sea level, 101.3 kilopascals, and keeping humidity within an ideal window of 25% to 75%, not too dry, not too muggy. Beyond that, it scrubs the air clean of carbon dioxide exhaled by the astronauts, disperses the heat generated by both human bodies and the whirring electronics, and locks the temperature into a cozy range between 18.3 degrees Celsius and 26.7 degrees Celsius. It doesn't stop there. This sophisticated network also channels air into the crew's sleek SpaceX suits, fine-tunes cabin pressure, and keeps environmental factors like temperature and humidity in perfect harmony. Should a spark flare up, it's ready with fire suppression capabilities, and it continuously filters out carbon dioxide to keep the air fresh and breathable. At the heart of it all is advanced software, humming along quietly, automatically adjusting every parameter to ensure the crew remains safe, comfortable, and focused, no matter what challenges arise during their journey through the cosmos. Here's a fascinating nugget to chew on. This high-tech life support system didn't spring up out of nowhere. It actually evolved from an earlier version designed to keep small critters, like mice, alive and well aboard the cargo-carrying Dragon spacecraft. It's a quirky little origin story that sparks a bigger thought. Isn't that how so much of our technology comes to be? From medical devices to cutting-edge machinery, countless innovations get their first test run with tiny animals like mice, proving their worth before they're entrusted with human lives. It's a humbling reminder of how even the most futuristic advancements often start small. Stepping into the Crew Dragon's cockpit, though, is where things get really interesting. This isn't just a step up from Boeing's Starliner, it's a leap beyond anything any spacecraft has offered before, thanks to one standout feature: a sleek, futuristic touchscreen control panel. The command system marries these responsive touchscreens with a backup of manual controls, all built with a level of fault tolerance that's as impressive as it is reassuring. The screens are precision-tuned to respond flawlessly, whether the crew is barehanded or wearing SpaceX's custom-designed astronaut gloves, ensuring no fumbling or frustration in the heat of the moment. Each display is a powerhouse, capable of presenting up to 10 distinct data streams simultaneously. Everything from navigation readouts to system diagnostics, allowing the astronauts to zoom in on whichever part of the spacecraft's operations they need to monitor most closely. The interface kicks off with a master overview page, a kind of mission control hub right at their fingertips, with the option to dive deeper into a sprawling network of detailed subpages, somewhere between 25 and 30 in all. These screens aren't static. They're alive with real-time data, feeding the crew constant updates on the Dragon's position as it hurtles through space, its potential docking targets, the onboard environment, and a host of other critical system stats. This isn't some untested gimmick either. It's been battle-hardened through hundreds of hours of rigorous training and collaborative simulations, proving its reliability in every conceivable scenario, from smooth sailing to high-stakes anomalies, across the spacecraft's full operational spectrum. And while Crew Dragon boasts the smarts to autonomously dock with or depart from the International Space Station with pinpoint precision, the crew isn't just along for the ride. If push comes to shove, they can take the helm, switching to manual control to guide the ship themselves, a testament to the system's flexibility and the trust placed in its human operators. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, the first astronauts to fly on Crew Dragon, shared their experiences training with the control system for the first time. Of course, growing up as a pilot my whole career, having a certain way to control the vehicle, this is certainly different. But we went into it with a very open mind, I think, and worked with them to define the way you interface with it, the way your touch is actually registered on the display, in order to be able to fly it cleanly and not make mistakes touching it, not potentially putting in a wrong input. Besides, the Crew Dragon is outfitted with 4 meticulously crafted seats, constructed from high-grade carbon fiber and upholstered in luxurious Alcantara fabric. These seats are thoughtfully positioned to provide seamless access to the control panel, blending ergonomic design with practicality. Beneath them lies a cleverly integrated storage space capable of holding up to 230 kilograms of cargo, maximizing efficiency without compromising comfort. Each seat is equipped with a dedicated life support line that connects to a port on the thigh of the occupant's EVA suit, delivering a steady stream of cool nitrogen and oxygen to maintain optimal conditions throughout the mission. The astronaut suits themselves are custom-tailored for every Crew Dragon passenger, striking a balance between functionality, lightweight construction, and robust protection against potential cabin depressurization. A single, streamlined connection point on the thigh links the suit to the spacecraft's life support systems, channeling air and power directly to the wearer with precision and reliability. This advanced integration is precisely why Suni and Butch had to swap out their older suits worn during their ascent aboard the Starliner for the sleek, newly designed SpaceX suits upon transitioning to Crew Dragon. When it comes to the exterior of the Crew Dragon spacecraft, the story is just as captivating as what lies within. This marvel of engineering is split into two distinct sections: a reusable capsule that forms the heart of the vessel, and a disposable trunk that serves as its unsung hero. Together they create a silhouette that's both functional and striking, designed to tackle the brutal challenges of space travel while maintaining an air of sleek sophistication. The trunk, often overlooked, is a powerhouse in its own right. Tucked beneath the capsule, it stretches the spacecraft's total length by an additional 12 feet, bringing vital systems along for the ride. Solar panels unfurl from its sides, soaking up the sun's energy to keep the ship humming, while a heat dissipation radiator works quietly to shed excess warmth generated during the mission. Stability fins, subtly integrated into its design, stand ready to steady the craft during high-stakes emergency aborts, ensuring the crew has a fighting chance if things go awry. Beyond its technical duties, the trunk doubles as a cavernous storage bay for unpressurized cargo. Think scientific experiments or supplies that don't need the cozy confines of the cabin. Above the trunk sits the capsule itself, a compact yet commanding presence at 16 feet tall and 13 feet wide. This is the Crew Dragon's beating heart, where the crew resides, and where the real magic of survival happens. Its exterior is a fortress against the elements, wrapped in a thermal protection system that's as ingenious as it is essential. At the base lies the crown jewel of this defense: an ablative heat shield, engineered to take the brunt of re-entry's fiery wrath. As the spacecraft plunges back into Earth's atmosphere, this shield doesn't just endure, it sacrifices itself, burning away layer by layer to whisk heat away from the capsule. The result? A surface that emerges charred and blackened, like a perfectly toasted marshmallow fresh from the campfire. Along the capsule's sides, additional protective layers bolster this defense, standing guard against the searing plasma that envelops the ship during its descent, sculpting its exterior into a rugged, battle-worn masterpiece. That toasted aesthetic, though, is just the aftermath. In its pre-flight glory, Crew Dragon is a vision of modern elegance. Painted in SpaceX's signature crisp white, its smooth, minimalist shell is punctuated only by a few small, strategically placed windows and the subtle outlines of thruster ports. Up top, a mechanical hatch crowns the nose cone, a versatile feature that adapts to the mission at hand, swinging open to reveal either a docking port for linking up with the International Space Station or a cupola window offering the crew a breathtaking view of the cosmos. On the side, a sturdy door provides earthly access, letting astronauts step aboard or disembark while the capsule rests on solid ground. Propulsion is where Crew Dragon flexes its muscle, and it does so with two distinct sets of thrusters, each with its own personality. The Draco thrusters, 16 in all, are the nimble workhorses, clustered around the capsule like a constellation of tiny rocket engines. Their angled nozzles are precision tools, firing off bursts of hypergolic propellant, a self-igniting mix of fuel and oxidizer to nudge the spacecraft into just the right position or tweak its altitude. These small but mighty engines give the crew pinpoint control, ensuring Dragon dances through space with grace and accuracy. Then there are the Super Dracos, the heavy hitters of the bunch. Tucked discreetly within 4 prominent ridges that encircle the capsule, 2 engines per ridge, these powerhouses are a different breed entirely. Each Super Draco churns out roughly 200 times the thrust of its Draco counterparts, delivering raw, unbridled force when it's needed most. They're the backbone of Crew Dragon's launch escape system, ready to rocket the capsule away from danger in a split second if a mission goes off the rails. But they're not just brute strength. Super Dracos are finely tunable, with throttling capabilities that let them dial back or ramp up as the situation demands. Whether it's a dramatic abort or a controlled maneuver, these engines are the muscle behind the mission. So, while the interior of Crew Dragon cocoons its crew in comfort and cutting-edge tech, the exterior tells a story of resilience and adaptability. From its heat-scarred shield to its solar-powered trunk, From its nimble Dracos to its roaring Super Dracos, this spacecraft is built to conquer the void and look good doing it. By the time it splashes down, that toasted marshmallow finish isn't just a quirk. It's a badge of honor, proof of a journey through fire and back again. The Raptor engine remains a major challenge for SpaceX's Starship program to this day. If previously we often saw problems with the Raptor sea-level version, now the Raptor vacuum has also encountered troubles, specifically during Starship Flight 8. So, what solution does SpaceX have to solve the Raptor vacuum problem? More than a week has passed since the launch of Starship Flight 8, yet the anomaly involving Ship 34 remains a hot topic of discussion. Recently, SpaceX posted a job listing for a propulsion systems engineer responsible for designing, analyzing, and building the feedline system that supplies Raptor engines on Starship. From this, we can infer a potential flaw that may have directly contributed to the explosion of Starship V2, or, at the very least, represents a challenge SpaceX engineers are struggling to refine in the design. Regardless of the exact reason, the core issue here appears to be closely related to the RVac engine, commonly known as the Raptor vacuum. Looking back at the Starship Flight 8 mission, we can see that the entire sequence of events leading to failure began with the rocket's Raptor engines, where the first signs of trouble came from the Raptor vacuum. Specifically, an orange glowing region was observed on one of its regenerative cooling manifolds, signaling possible damage. This could indicate overheating or a failure in the cooling system, which relies on circulating cryogenic fuel liquid methane or oxygen through the engine's nozzle and chamber walls to manage the extreme combustion temperatures. If the cooling manifold was compromised, a leak or blockage, the engine might overheat, lose thrust, and potentially fail catastrophically. To get a clearer picture of how the issue developed, we need to rewind a portion of that launch. First, at T+804 during Flight 8, an RVac shut down prematurely, followed almost immediately by the 3 center sea-level Raptors. This rapid cascade of engine failures led to an asymmetric thrust profile, with the 2 remaining RVac engines pushing the ship off course, resulting in a loss of attitude control and ultimately telemetry loss around T+930. Video evidence from the launch shows an energetic event in the aft section near the engines, corroborating the idea of a sudden destructive failure. This pattern bears some resemblance to Flight 7, where SpaceX identified a propellant leak into the attic, the unpressurized area between the liquid oxygen tank and the heat shield, as the likely culprit. In that case, harmonic vibrations stressed the propulsion system, causing leaks that ignited into sustained fires, shutting down all but one engine before the ship exploded. Flight 8's failure, however, appears more abrupt, less a prolonged fire and more an immediate explosion, suggesting a potentially different failure mode, possibly centered on an RVac engine itself rather than a systemic leak into the attic. So, could an RVac cooling failure cause this? The regenerative cooling system on Raptor engines is critical. The RVac variant, with its larger nozzle optimized for vacuum performance, has an extended cooling network to handle the heat load in space. If a cooling manifold developed a leak or rupture, perhaps due to manufacturing defects, material fatigue, or the vibrational stresses you mentioned, the engine could overheat, leading to a burn-through. A glowing orange spot would be a telltale sign of this. If the leak sprayed propellant into the engine bay or exhaust plume, it could ignite, causing a localized explosion. This might explain the rapid loss of multiple engines. The blast could have damaged adjacent plumbing, turbopumps, or electronics, taking out the center Raptors in a domino effect. Additionally, some others have hypothesized that resonant vibrations in the Block 2 ship's fuel lines, a new design with vacuum-insulated piping, could have amplified this issue. Unlike Flight 7, where full tanks dampened vibrations until later in the burn, Flight 8's failure occurred earlier, possibly when the tanks were less full, allowing oscillations to peak and rupture a critical component like an RVac cooling line. This aligns with the ship turning slowly as thrust dropped, followed by a catastrophic loss of control. With all the possible failure scenarios, hiring a propulsion systems engineer is a necessary step in tackling the issues with Starship 5-2. How will the company address this problem? The first major change will likely involve modifications to the fuel feed lines for the vacuum engines, potentially reinforcing or redesigning the plumbing system to mitigate vibrations or fuel cavitation issues. A new operating thrust target, altering engine power levels to avoid resonance frequencies that shook things loose in Flight 7. But your initial guess, extra fire suppression, extra venting, and increased tie-down points, also has legs. just in a different context. Extra venting. Additional vents to release pressure from propellant leaks, addressing Flight 7, Flight 8's venting capacity issue. Increased tie-down points. Not explicitly stated, but the hardware changes to fuel feed lines could imply better securing of plumbing to dampen vibrations. So, why does the Raptor vacuum have such a significant impact on Starship? The RVac is a variant of the Raptor engine optimized for vacuum conditions. Unlike the sea-level Raptors, which are designed for liftoff and atmospheric flight with smaller nozzles suited to higher ambient pressure, the RVac features a massive, extended nozzle. This larger nozzle increases the engine's expansion ratio, roughly 80-to-1 compared to the sea-level Raptor's 40-to-1, allowing it to extract more thrust from the exhaust gases in the near-zero pressure of space. The result is a significantly higher specific impulse, ISP, a measure of efficiency. The RVac achieves an ISP of around 378 seconds in vacuum, compared to the sea-level Raptor's approximately 330 seconds at sea level and slightly higher in vacuum. For context, this efficiency rivals or exceeds that of legendary engines like the Space Shuttle main engine. Starship's upper stage typically carries 6 Raptor engines, 3 sea-level Raptors, and 3 RVacs. The sea-level Raptors provide thrust vector control with their gimbaling capability and are useful during ascent, landing, or any atmospheric operations like Earth or Mars return. The RVacs, however, are the workhorses for spaceflight, delivering the bulk of the thrust needed once the ship is in orbit or beyond. After the Super Heavy booster separates, the ship relies on its 6 Raptors to complete orbital insertion. The RVac's high efficiency ensures Starship can reach its target orbit, whether low Earth orbit or a higher energy trajectory, without burning excessive propellant. For missions to the Moon or Mars, the RVacs are essential for performing translunar injection or trans-Mars injection burns. These maneuvers require sustained, high-thrust burns in vacuum, where the RVacs shine. Their efficiency minimizes the propellant needed, maximizing payload capacity, a key factor in Starship's design goal of delivering 150 tons to LEO or supporting crewed interplanetary missions. In Flight 8's case, the RVacs were crucial for the planned suborbital trajectory and splashdown test. Their failure not only destroyed Ship 34, but also set back SpaceX's iterative learning process. If the issue ties back to design or manufacturing, Block 2's new piping, it underscores how vital the RVAC is to the whole system, and how even small flaws can have outsized consequences. SpaceX will surely improve this quickly, right? Let's look forward to the next appearance of Starship in just a few weeks. Wrapping up the SpaceX news, we now turn to a highly significant update about one of its key competitors, ULA, which is set to carry out numerous launches this year. The ULA faced a significant challenge during the second flight of its Vulcan Centaur rocket, known as CERT-2, on October 4, 2024. Just over 30 seconds after liftoff, an alarming anomaly occurred. The nozzle of one of the 2 solid rocket strap-on boosters, supplied by Northrop Grumman, detached from the motor. Despite the loss of this critical component, which resulted in reduced thrust, the Vulcan Centaur demonstrated remarkable resilience, adapting to the diminished performance and successfully completing its mission. The incident, however, raised questions about the rocket's reliability as it seeks certification from the U.S. Space Force for national security missions. On March 12, 2025, ULA's president and CEO, Tory Bruno, addressed the issue in a media roundtable, attributing the failure to a manufacturing defect that has since been identified and rectified. According to Bruno, the root cause of the nozzle detachment was traced to a flaw in an internal component of the nozzle, an insulator, though he refrained from disclosing specific details, citing proprietary information. "We've isolated the root cause and implemented appropriate corrective actions," he explained. These fixes were rigorously validated through a static fire test of a solid rocket motor conducted in February 2025 at a Northrop Grumman test facility in Utah. The successful test confirmed that the manufacturing issue had been resolved, paving the way for ULA to resume production of the boosters. "We're back to fabricating hardware and, at least initially, screening for any signs of that root cause to ensure it doesn't recur," Bruno added. The investigation into the anomaly was unusually thorough, aided by a combination of recovered hardware and manufacturing remnants. Remarkably, the nozzle and other debris that detached during the flight landed near the launch pad, allowing engineers to retrieve and analyze them. ULA also recovered both solid rocket boosters from the ocean after the mission, enabling a side-by-side comparison between the booster that lost its nozzle and the one that performed as expected. The defective hardware just stood out night and day, Bruno remarked. It was pretty clear that it was an outlier, far outside the norm for our typical quality standards. Additionally, the team examined trimmings, leftover material from the production process, which provided further clues about the defect's origin. This meticulous approach underscored ULA's commitment to understanding and addressing the issue comprehensively. The findings from this investigation have been formally submitted to the Space Force as part of the Vulcan Centaur's certification process for national security missions. We've completed everything required of us, Bruno said, noting that the documentation was provided in February 2025. Historically, he explained, the certification process for launch vehicles has been relatively swift once all necessary data is submitted. However, he declined to speculate on the exact timeline for Vulcan's approval, deferring to the Space Force for an official schedule. Certification is a critical milestone for ULA, as it would enable the Vulcan Centaur to carry out high-stakes missions, such as the upcoming USSF-106 and USSF-87 launches, which are part of the Space Force's National Security Space Launch NSSL program. While awaiting certification, ULA's immediate focus is shifting to its legacy Atlas rocket. The company's next scheduled launch will involve an Atlas vehicle delivering a batch of satellites for Amazon's ambitious Project Kuiper constellation, a mega-constellation aimed at providing global broadband internet. Once Vulcan is certified, ULA plans to alternate between Space Force missions and additional Kuiper launches. Bruno projected that ULA will conduct approximately 12 launches in 2025, with the workload split evenly between the Atlas and Vulcan rockets, as well as between national security and commercial payloads. He highlighted the Vulcan's enhanced capacity, noting that while an Atlas can carry 27 Kuiper satellites per launch, a Vulcan can handle up to 45, an advantage that could accelerate Amazon's deployment schedule. If certification proceeds smoothly, Vulcan launches for Kuiper could begin as early as mid-2025. During the roundtable, Bruno also responded to a March 11, 2025, Bloomberg report that cast a shadow over ULA's reputation. The report cited an annual Department of the Air Force assessment of contractor performance, which allegedly stated that ULA has performed unsatisfactorily on its NSSL contract. The assessment reportedly went so far as to suggest that the Air Force was exploring the possibility of reassigning launches originally awarded to ULA to an alternate provider, widely understood to mean SpaceX, ULA's primary competitor in the launch market. Bruno dismissed the report's claims as outdated and misleading. When that was written, it was inaccurate. As we sit here today, it's been completely overtaken by events, he asserted. He pointed to two key issues mentioned in the report: concerns over the production rate of the BE-4 engine, developed by Blue Origin for Vulcan, and the solid rocket motor anomaly, both of which, he argued, have been resolved. The BE-4 production bottlenecks have been addressed, and the solid rocket motor investigation has concluded with corrective measures in place. Typically, Bruno said, he would avoid commenting on improperly leaked documents, but he felt compelled to correct the record due to the report's timing and inaccuracies. Besides its flaws, I'm a little suspicious that this was leaked at this particular moment as I await certification, he remarked, hinting at possible competitive or political motivations behind the disclosure. Looking ahead, ULA remains optimistic about its role in the evolving space launch landscape. The Vulcan Centaur, designed as a next-generation workhorse to replace the aging Atlas and Delta rockets, represents a significant investment in innovation and reliability. With the manufacturing defect behind them and a robust launch manifest for 2025, Bruno and his team are eager to prove the rocket's worth, both to the Space Force and to commercial customers like Amazon. As the certification decision looms, the stakes are high, but ULA's leadership appears confident that their corrective actions and transparency will secure Vulcan's place in the competitive world of spaceflight. While Flight 8 ends in unresolved issues, attention is now shifting to the next mission, Starship Flight 9. This flight will be a crucial test of SpaceX's ability to learn from past failures and implement upgrades, especially after losing 2 consecutive second-stage Starships. However, the setbacks from the previous launches have made the path to Flight 9 far from straightforward. In reality, the mission is already facing potential challenges that could delay its launch date. Shortly after the launch of Starship Flight 8, Elon Musk tweeted, "Today was a minor setback. Progress is measured by time. The next ship will be ready in 4 to 6 weeks." His tweet reflected a characteristically optimistic outlook despite the partial loss of the vehicle. This mindset has long defined both Musk and SpaceX, embracing failures as stepping stones in the pursuit of ambitious rocket development. If Musk's estimate holds true, Flight 9 could launch as early as the first week of April, or, at the latest, by mid-April. However, the real question is whether Starship can stay on schedule. The most immediate obstacle is the FAA investigation following Flight 8's explosion on March 6, 2025. After Ship 34 broke apart mid-air and fell into the ocean, the FAA triggered a mishap probe. Historically, such reviews have delayed subsequent launches. Following the Flight 7 failure on January 16, 2025, it took the FAA approximately 50 days to issue a launch license for Flight 8. If a similar timeline applies, Flight 9's schedule could face significant delays. If Flight 8's investigation follows a similar timeline, approval might not come until mid to late April, pushing Flight 9 close to or past the 6-week estimate. Elon Musk's claim of it being barely a bump in the road suggests optimism, but regulatory pace often trumps SpaceX's internal confidence. Technical readiness is another wild card. Flight 9 will likely use Ship 35, paired with either Booster 14, reused from Flight 7, or Booster 16. SpaceX is testing at Massey's, but the new Block 2 ship design, meant to survive re-entry, needs fixes after Ship 34's loss. The 4 to 6 week prep Elon Musk mentioned implies SpaceX is already addressing the engine or feed line issues from Flight 8. Still, unexpected setbacks during static fires or stacking could stretch this timeline, especially if new hardware like an updated Raptor configuration is involved. Besides, Flight 9 aims to repeat Flight 7, Flight 8's booster catch while ensuring the ship reaches orbit, something it's failed to do consistently. Musk has hinted at ambitious goals like catching the ship too, but back-to-back upper stage losses suggest SpaceX might scale back to prioritize reliability. Each added test objective increases prep time, potentially nudging the schedule into May. However, when it comes to SpaceX's work pace, predicting their next move is never easy. They have the ability to accelerate at any moment, which means a Starship launch happening on schedule, just as Elon Musk predicted, is not out of the question. SpaceX's biggest advantage right now is experience. Many of the issues seen in Flight 8 were recurring problems from Flight 7, engine leaks, onboard fires, and failures that ultimately led to the vehicle losing control. In fact, the sight of debris and scorched wreckage scattered across the landscape felt eerily familiar. Super Heavy also experienced multiple engine failures during its boost-back burn, with one engine failing to reignite before landing. While these problems may seem severe, SpaceX has been investigating them since Flight 7. This means they are not starting from scratch, but rather refining the fixes they have already implemented. As a result, the Flight 8 investigation is expected to proceed more quickly, and the necessary improvements can be applied more efficiently. The hardware for Flight 9 is already undergoing testing at an impressive pace. Booster 16 has completed cryogenic testing at Massey and will return to the production site for engine installation before heading to the launch pad for a static fire test. Meanwhile, Ship 35 has finished 3 cryo-proof tests and is set to return to the production facility this week. A major advantage here is that Starship's test schedule is not entirely dependent on the launch pad, allowing different components to be prepared in parallel. Additionally, the launch pad itself has been rapidly refurbished after recent flights, making it unlikely to cause delays. If everything stays on track, SpaceX could have Flight 9 ready within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Given their rapid turnaround times, they might even skip full integration testing, just as they did with Flight 8, to further accelerate the timeline. The mission profile for Flight 9 is expected to remain unchanged. Super Heavy will once again attempt a landing using Mechazilla's arms, and if successful, it would mark the 3rd consecutive booster recovery. Meanwhile, Starship will focus on advancing in-space operations, including payload deployment, in-orbit engine relight, re-entry with an improved heat shield and engine protection, and, ultimately, an ocean landing. All signs point to an imminent launch, making this the perfect time for speculation. Personally, I'm betting on an April 20th launch, exactly 2 years after Starship's first flight. What do you think? Drop a comment below and let us know. Despite facing formidable obstacles, SpaceX presses forward with the same unyielding resolve that has been the hallmark of the company since its inception. Elon Musk, ever the visionary, has laid out a bold and aggressive timeline that pushes the boundaries of what seems possible. Yet if there's any team equipped to conquer such daunting challenges, it's undoubtedly SpaceX. Should Flight 9 unfold according to plan, The next monumental milestone on the horizon will be Flight 10, a mission that could finally see the audacious attempt to catch the towering Starship with the Mechazilla arm. It's a bittersweet moment for enthusiasts, as this highly anticipated catch won't occur during Flight 9. However, this delay isn't a setback, but an opportunity. It grants SpaceX additional time to meticulously refine Tower B and its intricate systems, ensuring that the first-ever catch of the upper stage succeeds spectacularly. No matter what twists and turns lie ahead, one truth stands unshaken. With every launch, SpaceX is rewriting the history books of space exploration, and we're privileged to witness the future of spaceflight taking shape in real time. So don't blink. You won't want to miss a single second of this groundbreaking journey. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us as we chronicle SpaceX's awe-inspiring saga. Before that historic catch can become reality, SpaceX has a constellation of critical systems to perfect, each presenting its own unique set of challenges. At the forefront is the treacherous process of re-entry, one of the most formidable hurdles in Starship's development. Unlike the Super Heavy booster, which faces a relatively brief and straightforward descent through Earth's atmosphere after separating, Starship must endure a far more punishing ordeal. Returning from orbit, it encounters searing temperatures and intense aerodynamic forces that test the limits of engineering. To meet this challenge head-on, the heat shield system demands substantial upgrades. The troubles with Ship 29, S-29, during Flight 4 laid bare the vulnerabilities of the current design, prompting SpaceX to investigate a range of potential solutions. These could include advanced ablative materials capable of withstanding greater heat, or even the integration of a flight termination system to ensure safety in extreme scenarios. Evidence suggests these enhancements are being rolled out in the next-generation V2 Starship, which is already showing promise with experimental features like additional cooling channels and reinforced metal tiles. These innovations aren't static. They'll continue to evolve as SpaceX gathers critical data from post-flight analyses and real-world performance, refining the design with each iteration. Another pivotal system under scrutiny is the flap mechanism, a cornerstone of Starship's ability to navigate its descent. The V2 flaps mark a significant leap forward from their V1 predecessors, boasting improved design and functionality. Yet they remain largely untested in the crucible of actual flight conditions. SpaceX must rigorously evaluate its performance in the upcoming missions, particularly during the high-stakes re-entry phase, where heat and pressure push every component to its breaking point. These flaps aren't just decorative, they're essential for controlling Starship's orientation and stability, guiding it through the atmosphere with precision before the final landing maneuver. If any flaws or inefficiencies surface during testing, SpaceX will need to iterate further, tweaking the design to ensure the flaps can withstand the rigors of operational flight and deliver the pinpoint accuracy required for a Mechazilla catch. The engines, too, represent a linchpin in Starship's success, and an area ripe for improvement. The Raptor engines powering the spacecraft are marvels of modern engineering, but they're not infallible. The dramatic failure during Flight 7, which abruptly ended Ship 33's S-33 journey, served as a stark reminder of how vital propulsion reliability is to the mission. Every phase of flight, acceleration into orbit, deceleration for re-entry, precise navigation, and the final landing burn, depends on these engines firing flawlessly. A single misfire or malfunction at a critical juncture could spell disaster, sending months of preparation up in smoke. SpaceX is keenly aware of this, and their engineers are hard at work strengthening the Raptor's resilience. The goal is clear: ensure the engines can endure the punishing demands of spaceflight and the relentless stresses of landing, delivering consistent performance under even the most extreme conditions. Beyond the spacecraft itself, the ground infrastructure plays an equally starring role in the quest for a Mechazilla catch. All eyes are on Tower B, which is widely expected to serve as the stage for this historic feat. Construction of the tower is complete, with the first segments of the chopsticks, the mechanical arms designed to snatch Starship mid-air, already in place. Additional components of the orbital launch mount OLM are also taking shape, forming a robust foundation for the operation. The chopsticks are the heart of this system, tasked with executing a balletic maneuver that requires split-second timing and flawless coordination with Starship's descent. To pull it off, every detail must be perfected. The landing pins that secure the spacecraft, the guide rails that align it, and the actuators that power the arms all need to sync seamlessly with Starship's catch points. Beyond mechanics, the tower's communication network must be fortified to prevent disruptions. such as the one that forced an abort during Flight 6, ensuring real-time data flows uninterrupted between the spacecraft and the ground crew. The road ahead is paved with critical test flights, each one a stepping stone toward the Mechazilla milestone. These missions are more than just rehearsals. They're opportunities to iron out the remaining kinks and validate the systems under real-world conditions. SpaceX has a laundry list of objectives to check off: successful payload deployment into orbit, controlled re-entry that preserves the spacecraft's integrity, and a smooth landing powered by the latest V2 upgrades. At the same time, they must build on past triumphs, like the Super Heavy booster's pinpoint landings and the successful relighting of Raptor engines in the vacuum of space, refining these achievements to make them second nature. The ultimate prize lies in mastering Starship's controlled vertical landing, the final piece of the puzzle before the Mechazilla catch can be attempted in earnest. Picture it: a gleaming Starship descending gracefully from the sky, engines roaring as it slows to a hover, then settling gently into the waiting arms of the tower. It's a vision that feels tantalizingly close, yet every test flight reminds us of the complexity involved. With each launch, SpaceX edges nearer to this transformative moment, stacking successes atop lessons learned from setbacks. The anticipation is electric, growing stronger as these vital systems, heat shields, flaps, engines, and ground infrastructure, coalesce into a unified whole. The stakes couldn't be higher, but neither could the rewards. A fully reusable spacecraft caught mid-flight, poised to unlock a new era of exploration among the stars. It has long been known that Starship will eventually be launched from Florida, but now SpaceX has stated that this could happen as early as the end of this year. This announcement is entirely credible, as all ongoing activities in Florida are pointing toward this promising future. Recently, SpaceX has ambitiously confirmed that they are pushing for a launch from Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center by the end of 2025. This news was widely shared during the March 3rd live broadcast of Starship's launch attempt from Boca Chica, Texas, at Starbase. During the Monday evening broadcast, Christopher Gebhardt from SpaceX Communications discussed the upcoming plans for Starship. "We plan to complete the Starship launch pad at Pad 39A later this year, and pending the completion of the environmental reviews, SpaceX intends to conduct the first Starship launch from Florida Pad 39A later this year," said Gebhardt. "The project includes at least $1.8 billion of SpaceX capital investment and will bring an estimated 600 new full-time jobs to the Space Coast by 2030, the governor's office said. With 600 new full-time jobs and the historic addition of Starship launches from Florida, this expansion strengthens our economy, grows our aerospace workforce, and solidifies our leadership in the next generation of space exploration," said U.S. Representative Mike Herodopoulos. "This investment is a testament to SpaceX's confidence in Florida's central role in spaceflight, and we are proud to support the groundbreaking missions that will lift off from our shores." SpaceX later reaffirmed this, once again on its page. Expansion of Starship production and launch operations in Florida will enable SpaceX to significantly increase the build and flight rates for Starship, the company stated in an update posted on its website. With production, integration, refurbishment, and launch facilities in Florida as well as Texas, we will be in a position to quickly ramp Starship's launch rate via rapid reusability. This also received a positive response from Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. He reshared SpaceX's tweet with a message expressing strong support for the company's decision and even offered sincere advice to NASA. "Congratulations to SpaceX on your recently announced plans to bring Starship operations to Florida. With leading space companies, now including SpaceX, investing in the free state of Florida, NASA should scrap their expensive new HQ in DC and consider moving to Florida as well." So, what exactly has SpaceX been doing in Florida? While SpaceX acknowledges that environmental assessments from the Space Force and the FAA won't be released until later this year, construction of the massive Gigabay at KSC, which will be used to stack and finalize the 232-foot-tall Super Heavy boosters before launch, could begin as early as next month. This is a remarkably fast timeline, especially considering that the Gigabay in Texas is still in its early preparation phase, despite being announced to the public first. The Gigabay facility in Florida is poised to become one of SpaceX's most expansive and advanced integration hubs, meticulously engineered to handle the assembly, refurbishment, and processing of both the upper stage of the Starship spacecraft and the colossal Super Heavy booster. Towering at an impressive height of 380 feet, this state-of-the-art complex will boast an astonishing internal volume of 46.5 million cubic feet, complemented by a sprawling 815,000 square feet of dedicated workspace. This ambitious project represents a monumental leap forward in SpaceX's infrastructure, designed to meet the growing demands of its revolutionary space exploration endeavors. Among its standout features, Gigabay will house 24 specialized work bays, each tailored for the intricate tasks of integration and refurbishment. These bays will serve as the backbone of the facility, enabling simultaneous operations on multiple components of the Starship system with unparalleled efficiency. Adding to its capabilities, the facility will be equipped with cranes capable of lifting to 400 US tons, double the capacity of SpaceX's existing facilities. This enhanced lifting power will streamline the handling of the massive Super Heavy booster and other oversized components, reducing downtime and accelerating production timelines. The uppermost level of Gigabay is thoughtfully designed to accommodate the brilliant minds driving SpaceX's missions forward. This top-tier workspace will be reserved for engineering teams and mission planners, offering a commanding view of the bustling operations below. With ample room for collaboration and innovation, this area will foster the development of cutting-edge solutions and meticulous mission strategies, ensuring that every launch is executed with precision and foresight. When compared to the Megabay at Starbase, Gigabay emerges as a titan in its own right. It will offer an astonishing 11 times the floor space, dwarfing its predecessor and providing a vastly expanded canvas for SpaceX's ambitious projects. With 19 additional work bays, bringing the total to 24, Gigabay will significantly boost the company's capacity to refurbish Starships and prepare them for launch at an unprecedented scale. This dramatic increase in processing power will enable SpaceX to manage a higher volume of vehicles, supporting the rapid cadence of launches required for missions to Earth's orbit, the Moon, Mars, and beyond. In essence, Gigabay is more than just a facility. It's a cornerstone of SpaceX's vision for the future of space travel. By combining cutting-edge engineering with sheer scale, it will empower the company to push the boundaries of what's possible, transforming the Starship program into a robust, high-throughput operation capable of meeting the challenges of interplanetary exploration head-on. The groundwork for the ambitious Gigabay facility in Florida is already underway, marking the beginning of a transformative chapter for SpaceX's operations on the East Coast. Site preparation has commenced with meticulous attention to detail, laying the foundation for a complex that is expected to become fully operational by the end of 2026. The Florida Gigabay is set to play a pivotal role in long-term vision, serving as a critical hub for assembly, refurbishment, and launch preparations. Simultaneously, SpaceX is mirroring this effort with the construction of a parallel Gigabay at its Starbase facility in Texas. Strategically located adjacent to the Starship Star Factory, SpaceX's dedicated manufacturing plant for the Starship system, this Texas Gigabay will further enhance the company's ability to streamline production and processing. The synergy between the Star Factory and the Gigabay in Texas will create a seamless workflow, allowing SpaceX to refine its manufacturing processes while scaling up the refurbishment and integration of Starships and Super Heavy boosters. This dual Gigabay approach underscores SpaceX's strategy of distributing its operational capacity across key locations to maximize efficiency and resilience. Beyond the Gigabay projects, SpaceX has even grander plans in store for Florida. The company is actively designing a second Star Factory to be co-located with the Florida Gigabay, mirroring the integrated production model already established at Starbase. This Florida-based Star Factory will focus on the local manufacturing of Starships and Super Heavy boosters, reducing reliance on external supply chains and transportation logistics. Once operational, it will enable SpaceX to produce these massive vehicles on-site, streamlining the path from factory floor to launch pad. This development will position Florida as a self-sufficient hub for Starship operations, capable of supporting the full life cycle of these next-generation spacecraft. However, until the Florida Gigabay and its accompanying Star Factory reach full operational status, SpaceX has devised a practical interim solution to keep its launch schedule on track. Starship vehicles and their components will be transported from Texas to Florida via barges, a logistical feat that ensures continuity during the transition period. This maritime transport strategy will allow SpaceX to initiate early launches from Florida's advantageous coastal facilities while the local production infrastructure ramps up. By leveraging its Texas-based manufacturing capabilities in the short term, SpaceX can maintain momentum in its Starship program. Alongside the construction of Gigabay and Star Factory in Florida, SpaceX is also accelerating progress on its robust launch infrastructure at the Kennedy Space Center, specifically at Launch Complex 39A, LC-39A. This historic site, renowned for hosting the Apollo missions that landed humans on the Moon and the Crew Dragon flights that revitalized American crewed spaceflight, is now being transformed to accommodate the next generation of space exploration. At LC-39A, SpaceX is diligently constructing a cutting-edge launch and catch tower tailored for the Starship system, marking a pivotal expansion of its operational footprint on Florida's Space Coast. The centerpiece of this development is a state-of-the-art launch and catch tower, meticulously designed to integrate lessons learned from the two existing Starship towers at Starbase in Texas. This new structure will serve dual purposes. It will facilitate the precise stacking and launching of the Starship spacecraft atop its Super Heavy booster, and it will also enable the ambitious feat of catching the returning booster mid-air using advanced mechanical arms. By refining the tower's design based on real-world experience, SpaceX aims to enhance reliability and efficiency, ensuring that LC-39A becomes a cornerstone of its Starship operations. Besides, to achieve the ambitious launch cadence required for its Starship program, SpaceX is actively exploring additional launch opportunities beyond the Kennedy Space Center. One such prospect is Space Launch Complex 37, SLC-37, at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, CCSFS, a site with a rich legacy and strategic potential. As part of this effort, SpaceX has initiated an Environmental Impact Statement, EIS, to evaluate the feasibility of adapting SLC-37 for Starship missions. This comprehensive assessment will analyze the environmental implications and infrastructural adjustments needed to support the massive Starship spacecraft and its Super Heavy booster, ensuring that any development aligns with regulatory and ecological standards. Why SLC-37? SLC-37 boasts a storied past that underscores its suitability for cutting-edge spaceflight. Originally constructed in the 1960s for NASA's Apollo program, the complex played a vital role in the early days of American space exploration, supporting launches of the Saturn I and Saturn IB rockets. These missions laid critical groundwork for the eventual moon landings. Decades later, from 2002 to 2024, SLC-37 transitioned to hosting launches of the United Launch Alliance's Delta IV rocket, proving its adaptability to evolving aerospace technologies. This historical versatility makes SLC-37 a fitting candidate for SpaceX's next-generation Starship system, blending legacy with innovation. The geographic advantages of SLC-37 further enhance its appeal. Positioned along Florida's Space Coast, the site offers direct access to a diverse array of orbital trajectories, making it an optimal launch point for a wide range of missions. Whether targeting deep space exploration, lunar expeditions, or interplanetary voyages to Mars, SLC-37's proximity to the equator and its unobstructed eastward launch path provide ideal conditions for maximizing payload efficiency and orbital flexibility. Perhaps the most compelling reason for pursuing SLC-37 is its potential to boost SpaceX's launch frequency dramatically. Once both LC-39A at Kennedy Space Center and SLC-37 at CCSFS are fully operational for Starship missions, SpaceX will possess dual launch capabilities on the Space Coast. This parallel infrastructure will enable the company to significantly increase the tempo of Starship flights, catering to a diverse clientele that includes NASA, national security agencies, and commercial partners. Such a high-cadence operation is critical for supporting large-scale projects like satellite constellation deployments, lunar resupply missions, and the eventual buildup of a Martian transportation network. Now, SpaceX has already secured a restricted right of entry for SLC-37, granting its engineering and planning teams access to the site. This authorization allows for detailed assessments of the existing infrastructure, as well as preliminary planning for the modifications required to accommodate Starship launches. These evaluations will inform the design of launch towers, support structures, and ancillary systems tailored to the unique demands of the Starship vehicle. Meanwhile, the ongoing EIS will play a decisive role in shaping the timeline for future operations. The study's findings, expected to address factors such as noise, wildlife impact, and coastal ecosystem preservation, will determine when and how SpaceX can commence Starship activities at CCSFS. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and see you